All right, guys, today we're going to be talking about Standard 1.3, which is the Declaration of Independence. Now, you've probably looked at this before. It's probably not brand new, so I'm thinking that this can go pretty quickly. But if you have any questions as we watch this, don't hesitate to email them to me. You can reach me at ngallion@greermiddlecollege.org. Just one more thing before we get started. If you haven't already done so, you can download the notes in PDF form from my website, right where you found this link. There's a version that has blanks if you really prefer to copy them down. There's a version that's complete. You don't have to fill anything in if that's what you would prefer instead. But go ahead and get those. I think it'll help you as you study for this test coming up. So today we're talking about the Declaration of Independence. Now that doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's really something that goes right along with what we talked about last time, which was the conflict between the colonists and the British. We talked about the fact that the colonists considered themselves to be British until there were all these conflicts. They're taxed, they feel, without proper representation like they've been told they'll get in the Magna Carta and in other English documents. So they're going to fight for their rights. Now, the question, though, is, so who's the Declaration of Independence actually written to? Is it written to the British? Well, yeah, officially it's King George. But it's not only written to King George. In fact, a lot of people feel like the Declaration of Independence is actually written to a lot of American colonists because not everybody felt like it was a good idea to break away. Say, why wouldn't they want to break away? Well, think about it for just a minute. Let's say you are a farmer in the South and you've gotten wealthy on selling tobacco to England. Do you suddenly want to break that relationship between you and England? Probably not. Okay, the Boston Massacre, the Boston Tea Party, a lot of this stuff that's gone on is going on in the North. If you live in South Carolina or Georgia, you probably don't care. So the guys who write the Declaration of Independence, which, by the way, spoiler alert, Thomas Jefferson does most of that, he really writes and he appeals to the basic rights of all citizens. And he says those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, at this point, you should say, whoa, whoa, whoa. We just talked about a guy named John Locke who said that the basic rights are life, liberty, and property. Is there any relationship? And the answer is yes. Thomas Jefferson is basically borrowing, we won't say plagiarizing, borrowing from John Locke. Because everybody is going to wake up and say, oh yeah, I'm familiar with that. That's the rights that we all have. I like that. Okay. He says it's the job of government to secure those rights, the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. If the government doesn't do that, then the people have the right, he says, to alter it, that means to change it, or to abolish it, which means to get rid of it altogether. So Thomas Jefferson now just has to prove that the government of England hasn't been taking care of the rights to life, liberty, and property. And so the bulk of the Declaration, if you look at it, and you will in class when we meet again, the bulk of it is him saying, here's how the king in particular has violated our rights. He hasn't just not secured them, he's actually taken those rights away. What specific charges does the colonist bring? Who are they pointing him out to? Well, we're going to do some of that in class, but basically he says he's taxed us without permission. They've actually kidnapped some of us from our colonies and forced us to serve on British ships against our will. The king has done all these things. He's taken our land. He's taken our guns. And yes, officially he's pointing it out. He's saying this to King George, but he's also pointing it out to the colonists. Okay. Again, we'll spend more time in class looking at this. Now, this is a big deal because he's not just saying we should break away, although that's a big part of it. He's actually declaring that they are now independent. In other words, he's saying, as of this day, July 4th, 1776, we are our own country. That might seem like just a minor point to you, but to the people in 1776, it's a huge deal because now, if the colonies aren't part of England, they're actually independent and they're fighting on their own, then they can enter into treaties with other countries. That's a big deal because France in particular actually hates England. And they would love to see England get beat up. But it seems kind of bold and brash to just go to the colonies and say, hey, we want to help you beat up your mother country. Now, though, England, France can get the colonists, can get in a relationship with the colonists where they can support them. Now, there's only one other thing holding France or anybody else in Europe back, and that's that nobody believes that the colonists are going to win this war. Okay, England at the time has the largest navy in the world. They have one of the best armies in the world. They can get, and if you have an army and a navy that's awesome, then you take your army, you put them on the navy boats, you take them to where you want to go, and you whoop everybody. Okay, so nobody thinks that a bunch of farmers, which basically we were, and religious folks, like in the North especially, have any chance of winning this war until the Battle of Saratoga. The Battle of Saratoga is one of two battles you've got to remember in the Revolutionary War. The Battle of Saratoga is a big deal because we win it. It's a huge victory against the British. And when we win the Battle of Saratoga, all of a sudden Europe says, whoa, you're an independent country and you can occasionally beat England? Now we're interested. Now we might want to help. By the way, my little mnemonic device to help you remember Saratoga. If you think about the letter S, it starts here and it curls around and it ends over here. So we talk about a turning point where you're starting here. It looks like that's where you're going to be. And then by the time things are done, you're in a completely different direction. Okay, so Saratoga is the turning point of the Revolutionary War. That's when we start to win, at least if you're an American. So the French, again, they don't love England, first of all. They don't even really support democracy. They still have a monarchy at the time, but they don't like England at all. They hate them. They want to see them beaten. So they send us naval support, like ships. They send us supplies, guns, ammunition, cannons, that kind of thing. And between the fact that we have some pretty great leaders, George Washington, for example, and the help of the British, the help of the French, and a bunch of supplies now, we actually win. The only other battle you have to remember is the Battle of Yorktown, because this is the battle where we win against the British and Lord Cornwallis surrenders to George Washington. You see that in the picture up front. Okay, now how do you remember that Yorktown is the last battle of the Revolutionary War? Well, Y is toward the end of the alphabet. Okay, so if you're thinking Saratoga and Yorktown, how do I keep them straight? Remember, Saratoga is a turning point. Y, Yorktown, comes at the end of the alphabet, so it's going to be like the end of the war. Okay. You say, do I have to know all the specifics about it? No. You just need to know at this point, at least according to the South Carolina standards, you only have to know that that's the end of the war. Okay. The Declaration of Independence is going to be a big deal because it does impact us at home too. State governments look at it and they say, oh, we should treat all men as if they are equal, because the Declaration begins, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Even though that's true and state governments are going to copy that, only male property owners can vote. So it's like everybody is equal, at least all men are equal, but those who can vote are, or those who have land are more equal? It's a little strange. It takes us some time to really work out what this means, but at least a lot of state governments put that in their constitution, and that's going to give us grounds in the future to actually make things a little bit more equal. In the North, when we put this in there, a lot of people look at it and actually start to allow the gradual emancipation of slaves. That means we're slowly going to let slaves be freed. There were some slaves in the North, but over time we're going to get rid of it. Over on the right side, you see a picture of the 1960s where we go back to this and say, see, all men are created equal. This is what we do. Okay. States are also going to allow religious freedoms because you have the right to do what you think you should do. Okay. It's built into that. So this is a really big deal at home. Do we do a perfect job today living out the idea that all men are created equal? Well, turn on the news. Okay. We're still working this out, but we're a lot better than a lot of countries. Okay. I don't want to beat up on the United States for this one. We're working it out, and I think it's getting better all the time. Okay. There's one more impact, and that's that around the world, people look at this document that we have published and they say, you know what? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that's a great plan. We're going to copy that. And so you get other countries who have entire revolutions based around these ideas. Not long after the Revolutionary War, France has a revolution, and they base it on liberty, brotherhood, and equality. Now, that's not quite life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but it's close. You can tell that we got them thinking. And other countries, especially in Latin America, are going to do the same. Now, this we're going to do in class, so don't freak out about that, all right? Hopefully this is helpful. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, email me, ngallion@greermiddlecollege.org. We are not done with the declaration, but this will get us way further than we would have been otherwise, okay? So I'll see you in class next time. I hope this is helpful, and hope you're doing well in class, all right? See you soon.